Happy Tuesday! Today I'm going to answer a question from our viewer Elizabeth about how to cultivate a fan base and avoid people with negative intentions. Hey there, it's Asia Ray Coleman with another episode of Guru Tips for Actors, and this is a juicy one, so I'm going to jump right into Elizabeth's question. She says, I've had a lot of new releases lately, and people and relatives who never even glimpsed at me back in my hometown are now claiming their stake on their importance in my life and how they contributed, or are trying to get to talk to me. I feel angry that people who never cared for me seem to now, or pretend to be a part of my journey and career when they looked down on me before. I don't know how to respond when they reach out to me publicly or over social media, and I don't know how to respond if some of their information is incorrect about me or I don't like what they say. This opens a whole new question of how do I cultivate a fan base that I'm proud of and share news and communication while safely avoiding stalkers or people with wrong intentions. I know an important step of life is getting rid of negative people in relationships, but they seem to be following me and I feel my energy draining and trapping me into negativity. What are your thoughts, Asia Ray? This is so great, Elizabeth. This question is actually so awesome that I'm going to divide it into two segments and two videos. This week, we're going to talk about the fans and old acquaintances portion of your question. And in 2 weeks, we're going to talk about the stalker part. Next week, we're doing a video on networking because we have a big event. So I really want to address your question in a thoughtful way because I think it's really important for all of us. So thank you for asking. Now, first, I just want to say congrats on your successes. It's amazing that you're stepping into a new plane and people are recognizing how amazing you are as an actress and recognizing your achievements. So just remember that first and make sure that this doesn't take away from what you've accomplished. I have 3 tips for dealing with old acquaintances and fans that aren't really pushing the line of appropriateness, but are kind of doing a little too much right now. So my first piece of advice is to be clear and set boundaries, but thank them for their interest. You don't have to hang out with anyone that you don't want to. And I think a gracious way to decline is to thank them first and then just let them know that you're not available. Everyone understands now that you are busy and busy people can't go out to coffee with everyone or hang out, right? Welcome them to interact with you on your blog or on social media, but let them know that you won't be interacting with them in person or on the phone or something like that. My second tip has to do with social media posts. You asked about how to deal with inaccuracies. If they are posting something inaccurate or even offensive, you can feel free to report them. All of the social media channels have ways of removing posts if you can't delete them yourself. You can also just politely ask them to take it down and correct them, which leads me to tip number 3. If handling this is all too much for you and you feel that it is a drain on your energy and just really sapping you and something that you don't want to deal with, consider hiring a social media manager. That person can take all of this stuff on and be your first line of defense against the onslaught of comments and questions and inquiries that are coming at you. And you can give this person instruction as to what you want to be involved with. Perhaps they can forward things to you that are questions and you can field them and they can take care of the negative stuff right away on their own. Now, I want to wrap this video up by sharing some ideas on what to do about the people who you feel like looked down on you in the past and now want to revel in your success. Because I know that that can be extremely annoying. But remember, these people really did the best they could at the time with the tools they had. Perhaps they weren't supportive because they had some of their own fear about your career, about the uncertainty of your career as an actress, and they were scared, and so they projected that fear onto you in the form of not being supportive. Maybe they had their own aspirations of following a dream, and they weren't doing it themselves, and so they weren't able to be supportive of you because they saw you doing what they couldn't do. There are all sorts of reasons that people are unable to be supportive at the time that we need them. And I think the first step for you in moving forward is figuring out if you can forgive them for that. And remember that that was about them and not about you. And they might genuinely be happy for you now. They might be so relieved that you've exceeded their expectations and made an amazing career for yourself. So keep that in mind. I want to share a story with you, actually, and this is not acting related, but my father was never around when I was a kid. And we didn't really have a relationship. I saw him a few times, but he showed up at my graduation from Harvard. And I was extremely upset about that at the time. We only got 2 tickets to commencement, and my grandmother, who helped to raise me, couldn't even go because my mom and my grandfather went. And so I was like, what the heck? This guy who didn't really do anything to help me get to Harvard is going to show up at my graduation and my grandmother can't even go, who had everything to do with me getting there. But now I realize that he was just extremely proud of me. And although he wasn't in the place to be the kind of father that I thought I wanted, he was the kind of father that he could be. And I've completely forgiven him for that. And I appreciate the fact that he was really proud of me and wanted to see me graduate. So I hope that helps, Elizabeth. And in a couple of weeks, we'll talk about the stalker thing, because I also think that's important. If any of you have any comments or any situations that you want to talk about, please comment on the blog. I would love to hear from you. And thank you so much for watching this episode of Career Tips for Actors. I'll see you next week.